my name's Nova from the UK band Scars on 45. My passion for music and creativity has led me to meet some fascinating people over the years. Today, I'm meeting award-winning comedian and writer Domjoly.
Cheers.
Cheers. Thanks so much for doing this.
That's all right, it's a pleasure. I'm not going to be using these spittoons, just to let you know. I'm going to drink this.
We're in the...
I'm allowed one. I don't normally drink before a show, but, you know, special, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And we're obviously in the tasting room here at the hotel.
This is my hotel room, actually. Yeah, I always book in here. No, this is the tasting room, yeah. It's the Hotel Du Vin, which means Hotel of Wine. And they're quite slow to get you wine, actually, considering. But I really like it. So I'm a bit bad at the moment. I'm staying in Newcastle, not Sunderland. I was booked into Newcastle, but I'm doing the show in Sunderland, so I don't know why, but you know, it's fine. I like Newcastle. I've been wandering around.
Are you a wine fan, connoisseur?
Yeah, I like wine. No, I'm not a connoisseur, but I like, you know, like a drop.
Let's just jump straight in. I'm a huge fan of yours.
Thank you very much. Well,
I think we've been
quite a fan of yours.
Yeah. Thank you.
No, I do. I love your band. I think they're great. Scars on 45. They're good.
We've been in communication probably since 2010, around 2011.
Was it? I was trying to remember when it was. Yeah.
Yeah. Through music.
Yeah.
Never met each other.
No.
But we've always kept in contact through social media.
Yeah.
I've always kept you.
And I always thought what a great name your band was. Like a lot of people write with bands, and like, I think band names are so important. Don't you? Do you know what I mean?
Some absolute shocking names out
There's
there.
some shocking names,
yeah.
but also sometimes it like so defines what your band is. Like if you call your band Pelvic Thrust or something, like, you know where you're going to stand. Shall I tell you my favourite band name? I think because it's so good is Blur. It just doesn't say anything and it's short and no one misspells it and all that stuff. But Scars on 45 I love. Why are you called Scars on? In fact, I know this. I think I'm guessing it's because of scratches on. Is it?
On 45.
But are they called scars? Is that a technical term?
It's Well, we read an interview with Emmylou Harris.
Yeah.
When she was younger, she was playing with her dad's old 45s in the basement. Happened to scratch them, and he said he accused her of scarring.
That's such
45s.
a nice image, isn't it?
Yeah,
Scarring
so
music.
it's got a story behind it. It's the most we always get asked that question in any interview.
Yeah, of course.
So, and it's one of the things. But it's nice to have it's nice to have a band name that actually means something.
Yeah.
But for you, I mean, I'm so intrigued, like how it all started for you from the beginning. I mean, everyone knows you are trigger happy with the big phone and everything.
I hate the big phone.
And I know, but it's not just about that for me.
The thing is, the big phone was brilliant because if you hadn't seen Trigger Happy, you knew about the big phone. But for me, the big phone, it's kind of like it was the least interesting part of Trigger Happy for me. That's why I always put it before the credits, because it was kind of like this is the big shouty thing. But Trigger Happy really was about me constantly having a nervous breakdown dressed as a squirrel with some really sad music. Like it was like a really sad indie. You know, that's what I like doing. I mean, being funny and weird, but and the phone was okay, but the phone was really. People now look at the phone and think, oh, he was satirizing like how we use mobile phones. It wasn't. It was just an excuse to interrupt annoying things. So like being in a library or stuff like that. So
kind of when it first started, you know,
2000, 14th of Jan,
season
2000.
1, and it wasn't just the idea and the concept that drew me in, because I thought it was absolute genius, and it still is, because nothing has ever been made as good as that.
No, because
when it comes to hidden camera.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
But not just that. I mean, the balance, which we'll talk about later, of the music and the soundtrack, like the music you used.
The music to me was more important than the comedy, really. And my problem was I grew up watching a lot of that kind of comedy. There was a thing called Funny People, which was like a South African Candid Camera that I got out in Lebanon. I used to watch Candid Camera, and then terrible shit that Beadle's about and You've Been Framed. And I kind of loved that reality type humour, but it was always naff. Like it was Candid Camera actually had its cool moments. It was quite surreal, but all of it was so naff. And I was like, if you're smart in comedy, you're supposed to go to script. You're supposed to write sitcoms and do that. And I was like, but I love this. Like, this is what I like. And people don't realise that it's improv as well. And again, improv is such a horrible word. You think, oh, it's John Sessions stuck in a lift. You know, like, it's not that. But it's improv. And in America, what I do goes on to things like Spinal Tap that I love and Curb Your Enthusiasm, you know, where they've basically got a very rough idea what they're going to do and then they make it up. Because I'm talking to people in the street, I have no idea what they're going to say. So there's no script. So I was trying to make what I did cool, and I didn't intentionally go, so I'll put some cool music on it. But I remember when we were first doing stuff, and then I started just putting my favourite songs on because I want to be a pop star, really. It was the closest way for me to get songs I loved. And I put a Jacques Brel song, you know, he's like a sad Belgian singer on the dogs hitting each other. And I remember someone at Channel 4 actually saying, I think cartoon music would be better here. And it wasn't like me planning it, but I was just like, but that's absurd. I want people to be quite upset about what they're watching and then think, why on earth am I upset about this? And for me, Trigger Happy was a labour of love. Like, I literally We lived and breathed it, me and Sam, for a year, and we filmed and filmed and filmed and filmed. And the reason we could do it was almost just that year. It was like punk. You didn't have to rent a camera. You could actually buy, finally, a little camera that you could go and film with. And before that, we wouldn't have been able to afford to do it. You'd have to just get a crew for a day. So it meant we could literally suddenly just be in our own band. We just went and did it. And everything about it was us. In the edit, choosing the music was like the best bit for me. Like finding my favourite bit of a song, like that bit in a song that makes you just want to play it again and again. That's what the whole soundtrack was about.
Was it hard to get the band's permission at that time? Like you said, it's kind of like DIY way that you were doing it.
This was really interesting. It wasn't DIY, and it was Channel 4. So Channel 4 had a kind of blanket agreement, which meant that we could use almost any band, which was fine. Occasionally, like I had a moment where I had to ring Paul McCartney. I didn't ring him, but we got these weird stages where I was using Band on the Run that I love, you know, on a terrible shit scene of me in a fat suit stuck down a thing or so, and you're ringing Paul McCartney.
London Underground, wasn't it?
Yeah. And you're ringing Paul McCartney to bother him with this, and so someone's rung Paul McCartney, and then we're waiting because we're in the edit, and someone literally rings us up, and I remember this, and he goes, "I've got Paul on the other line. Could you just talk him through what it is you're doing?" And you're like, "Well, it's me in a fat suit," and like that, and just goes, and then you hear the lawyer, whoever it was, laughs, and then goes, "Yeah, Paul says it's fine." I go, "I've nearly spoken to a Beatle."
Inspiration of the characters, the voices. I mean, my favourite voice was when I'm sure you were in either Brussels or Bruges. You went Windows, Dorsch.
Windows, yeah. Well,
that was genius.
The only accent. I'm really bad at accents. Basically.
You're not.
No, I really am. So I can do a couple. So I can do the Dutch, like talk a little bit like this. But then if I keep going, it veers into like South African. American like is really dodgy. So I could only do, basically I do a sort of mishmash of a European accent. And that was in Bruges. And I knew that was going to work because there were just these guys, you know, when you go to one of those old towns and there's a guy just driving you around. So I thought, fucking, this is brilliant. So we paid this guy $100 and just said, the next person that comes, I'm going to sit at the front. You don't say a thing. Just go round and round. And they were like, you're so lucky because like you could get someone that wasn't funny, didn't speak English, wouldn't sign, but the classic American woman got on. And I'm like, "Hello, please. Okay, now we are going to go round and round the Bruges and look at all the windows." So we go around a couple of times and I'm like, "If you notice up there, there's some windows, there's a square window and there's a little round window." And she's like, "Okay, enough with the windows, let's go." I go, "Okay, please, I have not finished the window talk." And we went round and round. And again, because in Trigger Happy, I think short, we had to really like condense it. But then in the DVD, we showed the whole thing speeded up. And they were on for half an hour just going round and round. She was like, "Excuse me, are we just going to go?" I love doing it.
Yeah.
Shit, yeah.
What's your favourite character then in all Trigger Happys, if you could just choose one?
Well, there's difference because there's jokes. So like, I love the snail. I love real physical, beautiful moments where it's like about the music and a shot. So like the snail or just the guy with the stop sign. Yeah. But I think my favourite is the Dutch tourist because, or the Swiss maybe guy. I love finding a beautiful old couple. They're not, and people used to say like, "Oh, you pick on old people." It's like, I'm not picking on them. No. Like if they're simple or they're not getting it, I'm not interested. I want them. They're just sweet. They listen. Mm-hmm. And I love just starting on a story about, you know, I was here and I had botulism and I've been vomiting very, very heavily everywhere.
When you had the hat on.
Yeah, and the hat. I have seen doctors many, many times and all that stuff. There's a moment where I'd look at Sam and I'd just go, I can fucking say anything here, and he'd carry on.
I think like you mentioned it just then, like obviously the elderly and everything like that, but we're very innocent public, aren't we? You know what I mean? The British, we're very...
That's the thing I really noticed when I went abroad. I mean, the big mobile, which again, I don't particularly like, but the way that people reacted with the big mobile here compared to New York, for instance. So here, like all British comedy and us is a fear of embarrassment. Like we just don't want people to pick us out. And unless you're about to be stabbed, people are just going to go, "Just leave me alone, buddy." You know. So if you start shouting, everyone's like, "Oh God, like I wish he'd stop." In America, I did it on the subway. Everyone's like, "Shut the fuck up, asshole," like that, or pull a gun on you, or you get arrested. So yeah, it is very different.
But the travel connection we both have, obviously, with me touring, based in the States as well, back and forth.
Yeah. Where's your favourite place in the States?
I've done every single state
apart
from two.
Have you?
Yeah.
Fuck, that's impressive.
You
haven't been to Hawaii?
How did you know that?
Because no one's been. You haven't been to Alaska. Those are the two?
Absolutely.
Fuck yes, look at that. Yes. Look at that.
Domjoly. So we're just going to finish off in here. Yeah. And then we're going to have a little ride down to Sunderland.
We're going to leave.
Car share to Sunderland.
There's going to be no difference between this and Sunderland at all. This is what Sunderland's like. I know that you think I'm being rude to you, Sunderland, but you're a bit chippy. I took one fucking picture of a woman on a bench with a scratch card with what looked like Pyongyang in the background, and suddenly it's like, oh, he's taking the piss. I wasn't. I was. Anyway, we're going to Sunderland. Hopefully this will go out after I've left Sunderland, or I'll be lynched.
The inspiration of the writing, so 6 books now, you've got a new one coming out.
My new one's so good.
Hezbollah Hiking Club.
Nice. Do you like the name?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd love to do it though.
What?
The actual hike.
Well, do you know what?
I looked into it myself. Do you
know what? I genuinely think when the book comes out, I'm going to have done a really good thing for the Lebanese Tourist Board, because no one goes to Lebanon as a tourist, and they fucking should. It's the best country in the world. Not just because I grew up there, but it's so exciting. The food's amazing. You can go skiing, you can go to the beach.
That food shot you did with the fried eggs, is it that?
No, that skiing shot. It was insane.
Where was that? Was that like on top of the actual hike itself? Where was that?
No, that was just like someone's terrace where we were staying before we went skiing.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah, it's amazing though.
Unbelievable. Yeah. What's the best place you've ever been to? You know what? Your top 3.
Wherever I'm
just
going
to finish off with before we go to Sunderland.
Okay, I would say Cambodia. I fucking thought Cambodia was insane. It was a bit like Lebanon where I grew up. It's famous for having this incredible war, but it's got this great culture, and it's just fascinatingly weird, great place. I love Morocco. I'm really into Morocco. I think Morocco, for somewhere close to England, 2.5 hours away, fuck like EasyJet to Marrakesh. Just get in a car and fuck off, and there's so many different. Just get lost in Morocco, and there's so much different stuff going on there. And Lebanon, I'm in love with Lebanon again. But my favourite country I've ever been to is Syria. And you can't go there at the moment, but you will soon. It's an amazing place.
Right, from Syria then to Sunderland.
Syria to Sunderland, very similar.
Thank you so much, John. Let's go for it.
Oh. You're listening to Tears and Fears.
So in the sea.